Okay, hey everybody. So we're at the table, but before we get into the actual tutorial, I just wanted to show you that you can use this tutorial to make this lounge shirt in any size and any with using any type of yarn. I will be using this particular yarn right here to make my next set. And I'll show you the pants on that set, but the shirt will be exactly like this one. Just when you're using a different size yarn, you just want to follow the instructions and go ahead and insert the type of yarn or the size that you'll be using. I hope you guys enjoy this tutorial, and if you have any questions about using a different kind of yarn, just hit me in the comment section. Okay, so we're at the table, and this is what I'm going to be using today. Um, Barnett Blanket Twist, and this color is Lilac Grove, and this is a number 6 super bulky yarn, and it suggests that we use an 8mm hook, and that's exactly what we're going to be using today, an 8mm hook. And for my borders, I'm going to be using this Caron Simply Soft. Now this one is size 4 yarn, so I'm going to be using this in 2 strands in order to work my border. Okay, so I'm going to get the stuff out of here and we're going to get started. Don't forget scissors and a yarn needle, stitch markers if you need it. Okay, so I'm getting ready to work my border, and I wanted to show you guys exactly how I'm doubling this yarn to begin my border. So I want to take my skein and just take some out of it, because I'll be doing 2 arms and front and back piece. I'll be doing a lot, so I want to make sure I have enough yarn for all of the pieces, but as long as I know I have enough for the piece that I'm working on, I usually just do a little bit at a time. So I'm doing this, and once I feel like I've got enough to work both of my pieces without having to go back and get more yarn for obviously the ball, and I think I'm good. I'm gonna cut my yarn, and I'm actually going to put this here, but I'm just going to work with both of them together just like that. Now we're going to be working this piece starting from the bottom, and it's going to be the width. The width that I decided to go with is 2 inches on, this is the shoulder here, shoulder here. I'm going to go 2 inches past the shoulder and 2 inches past this one for measurement. So my measurement is going to be from this 2 inches to this 2 inches past the shoulder. Okay, and that is the width that I'm going to make today. And we're starting with the back piece and that bottom border. Whatever width we have for the back piece will be the same width for the front piece. So we're going to be making 43 rows here. If you decide to, if your measurements take you out to a different length, then you're just make your border that wide. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and begin. My yarn around and pull it through and pull up. Ready to begin. We're going to chain 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. We're not going to go into the first chain on our hook. We're going to go into the second and make a single crochet. Okay, and we're going to go into the next chain and make another single crochet. We will be placing single crochets in every chain all the way till we get to the beginning. At the end, we should have 8 single crochets. Chain 1 and turn our work. Now we want to look at our piece like this, and you see there's a front loop and then there's a back loop. We want to make single crochets in the back loop only, starting with the first stitch. So I'm just going in that back loop and making a single crochet, and again in the back loop and single crochet, back loop, single crochet, and we're going to do this until we get to our last single crochet. Okay, now at our last single crochet, only thing we're doing different here is we're still making a single crochet, but when you get to your last one, you want to go through both of the loops and not just one. So my last one, I'm going through 2 loops. And not just one. We'll always chain 1 and turn our work. Now I want to state this, even though I'm working with 2 strands, I'm saying just the back loop or the front loop, or we're going through both loops. I'm treating this, and I'm speaking about what I'm doing as if this was one strand of yarn, okay? Not to confuse. So when I say we're going through both loops, we're technically going through all 4 loops, but I'm treating this like this is one strand and referring to it as if it was one strand of yarn. So now we're just going to go through the back loop, starting with the first stitch, and make our single crochets in the back loop only all the way down to the end. And once we get to the last one, we're going to go through both loops. Then chain 1, and we will always turn our work. So we're going to continue working in the back loops only, and we're going to do that for 43 rows. Okay, we're going to do that for 43 rows, and that's going to give us the width that we want for our project. Okay, if you again want to, if you're making a different size and you want it to be wider, going by the measurements that you insert, you want to then make it that length. Okay, or if you're doing it shorter or for a smaller size, then you just want to make it the length, the width of your project. Okay, you want to make this the length of the width of your project. So this is going to be at the bottom of your project, running this way. Okay, and you just want to keep going on until you have that size. Now we're going to be doing this for the back border, and this is how we're going to begin the back, the front, and both of the arms. So I will not be going over this again. For the arms, I will just come in and tell you how many rows we're going to do for the arms, but for the front and the back piece, it will be 43 rows. Remember, starting in your first stitch, back loop only, and you're going to keep going. And as you see, when you work in the back loop, it gives you this nice ridge. Okay, so back loop only, chain 1 at the end of the row, and do not forget to go into both loops on the last single crochet there. And you should always have 8 single crochets in your row. This should never get more or less single crochets in any row. Okay, will always be 8 every single row. So I'll see you when I get to my 43 third row, and we'll go ahead and build the rest of the back. Okay, so I have made my 43 rows for my back piece, and now I am going to chain up 1, which I kind of already did, and for each row we want to place 1 single crochet. So this being row 1, I want to go at the top and place a single crochet there. This being row 2, I want to go at the top and place a single crochet there. This being row 3, I want to go at the top and place a single crochet there, and we're going to do that all the way down, and we should have 43 single crochets. So we have 1, 2, 3. This is the 4th row. You want to go right in the top of that row. And the next one. And the next one. Okay, so I'm going to go all the way to the opposite end and place in my single crochets, 1 at the top of each row. Okay, so I am at my last row, which is right here. And I do not want to work anything into the foundation chain, so I'm making sure I just go into my last row. This foundation chain, want to not work 1 into the foundation chain. Okay, so you want to make sure you stop at your last row. Then once you're done, you can cut your yarn off and pull through. And I'm going to turn my work as if I had not cut my yarn off, and we're going to bring in our yarn for the body of the piece. And I want to go to the first single crochet right here, add my yarn on, I'm going to chain 1, yarn over, and then I'm going back into that same spot with a half double. Okay, so we will be making this whole project with half doubles. Now we have 43 single crochets, and that is the amount of stitches that will be in every single row. Okay, now you're going to work this on up till you get the height of the piece that you want. I know that I need 30 rows, so I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to be going into each single crochet with a half double. I meant to work over these ends, but I'll weave them in later. But I try to work over as much as I can here. And we'll just place our half doubles all the way down until we get to the end. And I'll show you how we're going to end our rows. That is how it is looking. And I'm going to go all the way down and meet you at the end. Alright, see how it's looking. And I am at my last stitch. So I'm going to go in my last single crochet and put a half double there. Now when we get to the end of every row, we will chain up one and turn our work. And we'll yarn over, and we'll go right into that first stitch with another half double. Now I know that this chunky yarn is, you can't see the stitches, but you can see the stitches. So if you get close enough, you can see right there, there's your stitch. You also can feel it with your finger and with your hook. It's very noticeable where that stitch is. So we're going to go in there and make our half double. And we can see it. You can see the little indentation right there. That's where our hole is. You want to go in and make your half double. In the next space, and make your half double. And next one, half double. And we're going to do that all the way to the end, and I'll show you one more time how we're going to end our rows. And this is how it's going to look, and it feels amazing. So this is how it's going. And this is our last stitch. We're going to go in there. Chain one. And turn your work. Yarn over, and we're going to go in the very first stitch and place our half doubles. Now we'll be working again half doubles this whole entire body of our work. You want to make this the length that you want, and you're going to go up till you get there. I'm going to go up 30, so I'm going to finish my 30 rows. I have 43 half doubles in every row. It will stay that way. It will not decrease. So I'm going to go up to row 30, and then we'll come back in and we can start our front piece. Okay, so I have got into my 30 rows for my back piece. And now that I know I need 30 rows for my back. I'm just going to make the front piece exactly like this one. Okay, same bottom border and everything, but I am only going to do 26 rows. Okay, I'm going to keep it 4 rows short, and that's going to be for our neck. Right, so I'm going to make another piece exactly like this, but keep it 4 rows short. Okay, so I've finished my front piece and I've made it exactly the same way as my back piece. I just did 26 rows here and the back piece 30. Okay, so I'm 4 rows short of my top. So I'm going to pull this down and even it off so it's even, and we can look at the top. Okay, so with the top area, what we're going to do is we're going to leave a certain portion marked off for our opening for our neck. Okay, so it'll be 4 rows shorter than the back piece, and we'll leave a certain amount open. Okay, so I'm bringing in my measuring tape because I want to look at this, and I want to make this about 8 inches. I want to leave about 8 inches open for my neck. Now, I don't want a tight neck. I want it to be semi-loose, so I'm going to do 8 inches. If you want to do it smaller, you can do it smaller, obviously, but I'm going to do 8 inches for this. So now, having my 8 inches here, I'm actually going to need to put the same amount on this side that I have on this side. So I'm going to look at this and mark this off. Now I can tell right here that my 8 inches is going to span 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 stitches. Okay, so now that I know this is going to span 16 stitches, I'm going to grab some of my white yarn. Just going to use this as stitch markers. Now I know that my 8 inches is 16. Now if I subtract 16 from what I have here, and that is 43 stitches, then I'm going to be left with 27, and I can't evenly break 27 up. So because I need to break it up evenly, I'm just going to take the extra stitch and put it here, or I can take the extra stitch and put it with the 27 and say I'm going to have to divide these by 28, and I'll put 14 here and 14 here. Okay, so I think I'll do that one. So I'll put 14 on this side, 14 on this side, and since the 16 was not going to work because it wasn't going to make it even, then I'm just going to put 15 stitches in the middle. All right, so I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I'm going to come into the next stitch. So I'm going to put this where the first unmarked stitch that I'm not going to work in. And then we're going to count 14 over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Okay. So I'm going to put it in the first unworked stitch for here. So we have that marked off: 14, 14, and 15. Okay, so now we're going to, I never cut my yarn off, and I'm going to move the back piece out of here. This is making it hard to see. Now I'm going to take, and I'm just going to put half doubles over the first 14 stitches. So first one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And you see I have my stitch marker here saying I'm not going to work in that stitch. So now that I've gone 14 stitches, I'm going to chain 1, turn my work, and now I want to work back over these 14 stitches, and I'm going to do this for a total of 4 rows. Then I would have my total 30 on this side. We're going to then do the same thing with these 14 stitches, working them up 4 rows, so we'll have our total of 30 rows total, and then we'll leave the ones in the middle unworked. Once you've done your 4 rows there, make sure you start the other side at the end, so you make sure you get all of the stitches that you need to get. Add on chaining 1, yarn over, and go right back into that same spot and put your half double and work over your excess yarn. Okay, so I'm going to finish my 4 rows. Okay, so I have both of my sides done, and I have my opening for my neck. We will be going around that with a border once we get everything together. That'll be like the last thing we do. So now I want to take my back piece, and before I do that, I want to, now is the moment when you decide which way do you want to be your front and which way do you want to be your back. I'm going to choose for this to be what's going to be inside of my piece. So what you want on the inside of your piece, you want to have laying flat down. Okay, the side, if it matters to you, the side that you want on the outside, that is what you're going to have facing up, as well as with your back piece. The side that you want to be on the inside, and I don't think this one, it matters to me. Yeah, I'll turn around. The side that you want to be on the outside of your piece, you want to have on the inside. So Those are going to be on the outside. This is going to be in the inside, and we're going to pull this down. I am now going to join this area right here and this area right here. Now we're just going to go either with a single crochet or a slip stitch matching these spaces. So I have 14 stitches in the front, so I should be connecting this with 14 stitches in the back, and I'm going to try to work over that as well. So I'm doing this with the same yarn from the body of the piece. Add it on with a chain 1, and then I'm going to go back in that same spot and I'm going to put a single crochet. I think I'll show you slip stitches all the way down here though. So we're going to go in the next stitch from the back, and we want to go into the next stitch from the front. I'm just going to grab my yarn and I'm just going to slip it through. Okay, because it's already bulky, I don't want to give it too much bulk with the join. So we're going to go through the next one here and the next one in the back. Grab our yarn, pull up, and pull that through. And because now we're slip stitching, we won't be able to put these down, but that's why I did the first one as a single crochet, so kind of hold it down. Okay, so we're going into the next one, and the next one on the opposite side, and we're going to just grab our yarn and pull up. So we're just going to be doing this all 14 stitches, and then we'll go and do it on the opposite side. Get to the end, gonna cut our yarn and grab it and pull it through. So we have the first side joint. We'll do the same thing on the other side, and then we'll start work on the arms. Okay, we are now nice and joint on both of our sides, and our body piece is complete except for us coming back and working around our neckline. So we're going to jump right into the arm with the sleeve, and we're going to start the sleeve exactly the way we started this with our border, and we'll be doing our border in the exact same way. Okay, so we're going to make this in the size for our wrist. So we're just going to make this long enough to be able to wrap around our wrists and the comfortability that we want. So I'm going to do 21 rows. That's going to give me exactly what I want. If you need to do more to go around your wrist, or if you need to do less, you can just do that by making more rows or less rows. But I'll show it to you as soon as we're done. I'll wrap it around. It's probably not going to fit my wrist. Of course, I'm making this for a smaller size, but it's going to fit around your wrist to the size you want. Okay, so I have finished making my wrist area. Now, again, how you want to tell your wrist area if it's right, it fits around to your liking, okay? Now, once I'm finished with my 21 rows that I have here, I want to chain one, and I want to place one single crochet all the way along the top, just like we did with our bottom borders, okay, of our sweater. So I'm going to do one single crochet for each row, and at the end of it I should have 21 single crochets along the top. Okay, so I have my 21 single crochets at the top. I'm going to now cut my yarn and going to pull it through. Alright, so done with our white. Now I want to come in with the color of the body, and I'm going to turn my work. I'm going to go into the first single crochet and add my yarn on there, pull up, chain one, and I'm going to put a half double right into this space. So I'm going to half double all the way down this row. At the end of it, I should have 21 half doubles. And I am working over my extra yarn as I go. Okay, so this is how it's going to look. Now, what we want to do now is increase from the wrist on up. Now, I'm planning on increasing in the first stitch. I will put 2 half doubles, and into the last stitch 2 half doubles. And I will do this on every other rows until I have increased on 6 rows. Okay, so I'm going to chain one, turn my work. Now, and just remember, I have 21 half doubles here, so my next row I will be gaining 2 half doubles. So I'll be putting 2 in the first stitch. It's my first one, and go right back into that stitch and place a second one, and then 1 half double for every stitch until we get to the last stitch. Now I've gotten to my last stitch, and I want to go in there and place 2 half doubles into the last stitch. 1 and 2. Okay, so now I'm going to chain one, turn my work, and on this next row we'll just be placing half doubles. So what we want to do is repeat row 1 and 2 6 times, okay? So that means we'll have 6 decrease rows. So we'll do a row of half doubles, and then we'll increase just on the ends. So I'm going to run through those 2 rows for you again, just to make sure you got it. And this row, again, like I said, is a just half double row, repeating row 1. Okay, so I just finished my 3rd row, which is just a half double row, and now we'll repeat row 2, and I will start by putting 2 half doubles into the first stitch, and I'll go all the way to the end, and in the last stitch we'll place 2 half doubles. And now I'm at my last stitch. So I'm going to go in there 2 times. I'm going to place 2 half doubles there. Chain 1 and turn my work. And now I'm at row 5, and row 5 is going to be just half doubles. Alright, now what we want to do is we want to do this. We want to increase 6 times, okay? So we're going to repeat row 1 and 2 6 times, okay? So we've repeated it once, then we repeated it twice, so we're going to repeat it 4 more times, okay? And we're going to go from 21 to 33, okay? So we started with 21 here. We're going to increase 6 times, gaining 2 on every increase row, so we'll end with the 33. So I'm going to go ahead and finish doing my increases. Now the goal of your increase rows, the whole point of it all, is to get this to the fit around your chunkiest part of your arm. Okay, so the largest part all the way up by your biceps, you want to make sure it fits there. So you're going to keep increasing if you need to increase more. If you want to increase less, you're going to take your increase point, say when I get to 6, and I'm going to make sure it's going to fit around the arm. Okay, right up under the armpit. We want to wrap it around and make sure it's going to fit the highest point of your arm. And once you know that you have it, then we're just going to be doing half doubles for the rest of the way. And I'm going to do 30 rows total here. And of course, you're just going to make this as long as you want it. Taking into account that we did go 2 inches past our shoulders. So I'm going to do my increases, and then I'm going to just go back and forth making half doubles. I'm on an increase row right now. I'm going to go back and forth making my half doubles until I reach 30 rows total. Okay, so I have my 6 repeats. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So now I'm at 33 stitches, and now I'm going to go to half double all the way across and up till I get to 30 rows. Okay, so I'm going to chain 1, turn my work, and I'm just going to do nothing but half doubles until I get to row 30, and then I will cut off and stop. Total. So we're going up 28 rows total, and that's going to be the length that I want for this project. So I'll meet you back after I put on my additional rows till I have the total of 28 rows. Okay, so I am finished. I have put on my 28 rows total. So I have 28 rows all done. You see how it arches. Let's turn it this way so we can see the whole sleeve. So you see how it comes in at the bottom, and this is going to work. So now that I'm finished doing this, and I've done the other arm, we're ready to attach. Okay, so first we want to lay in our back piece. Well, no, first we want to lay in our whole piece. Now I want to look at this whole piece on the wrong side, because that's where we're going to attach our arm, on the wrong side. Okay, now I'm going to come in with my arm, and you want the side that you want on the outside to be flat down. The side that's going to be on the inside is going to be up, and we're going to be attaching it like this. So we want the exact middle point here, and I know I have 43 half double crochets here, so I'm going to go in the one in the dead middle and attach this on, making sure it's even here. So the way I'm going to find my middle one, I can count, but if you fold your work like this, and it's an even fold, then this right here should be our center. Okay, now that I know where my center is, I'm just going to take another color yarn. You could use a stitch marker and bring it through there. Okay, I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to lay this here, and I'm going to take where I know is my center and my joint area right here where I place my joints, and I just want to add this here. Now the reason why I'm adding this here, because this is the dead center of my sweater, and this is the center of my sleeve, and I'm just going to tie this on here. If you have a stitch marker, this will work great too, just adding that on. And now that we're all settled, we're just going to slip stitch this on. And the same way we slip stitch this on is going to be how we're going to slip stitch the rest of the project down. So I'm going to take the color of my body, and I'm going to add my yarn on here in the first half double, and I'm going to slip where the dead opposite. I'm going to grab my yarn, add it on, chain one, and then I'm going to go back into that same spot and place one single crochet. Alright, so the first one is a single crochet, and now I'm just going to go all the way down this line and slip stitch, adding the front, the sleeve to the body of the work. And I do want to make sure I do not miss any stitches on my sleeve. So I'm going from one right to the next and slip stitch. I want to try to stay on the edge of my work. I'm going through the top of the half double here, but here on the body of our piece, we want to stay right on the edge. And I'm going to keep going till we get all the way to the opposite end. A question might be, can I use my yarn needle and sew this on? Yes, you can. I just like to do it like this. Now, when we get to the joint area, we do not want to work on the joint area. We want to work on this side, and then we're going to find our next one, which is the one in the center, and I'm going to go right on the side of my join area. And I'm going to keep going. And I show you this here in detail because again we will be joining everything else like this. We'll do the other side first and attach the other sleeve, and then once we're finished with our sleeve, we're going to join our whole entire piece together with slip stitch just like this. And this is my last one. So I'm going to go through there and go directly across from it and join that on. Cut our yarn. Grab it, pull it through, and pull it down tight. So there we go. Let's look at it. And that is our join. It's joined on. So I'm going to do my other arm on my other side. And I can take this off of here now. I'm going to do the other side and then we'll do the whole piece. Okay, so now I have the sweater turned on the wrong side. Okay, this is the wrong side. You see the joint area, and both of my arms are now attached. So I want to make sure everything is laid down nice and flat and even. And we're going to start with our wrist, and we're going to come all the way down here. This is our path from the wrist all the way here. Gonna make sure we hit our corners, all right, and come down all the way to here. Okay, if you want to stop here and leave this open, you can, but we want to come down to here or to right here, and close this off. Now the only thing I want to mention before we slip stitch all of this is, now I'm going to start my path from my wrist and go on down. But I do not want to use this color here, and I do not want to use the white here. So what I want to do is I want to use the white for here, and then we'll change up. So I have my white, and I still want to use it with the two strands together. So I still want to do my two strands together. I'm going to add my yarn on at the bottom here and here. Get my yarn up there, chain one, and I'm going right back in. Now on this area, I'm probably going to go ahead and make a single crochet. Now we can still slip stitch here, but I'm just choosing to do a single crochet. We're just going to close this up. Now once you get to the end of here, you want to cut that off and pull this through. And pull it tight. So that part's done, and now we want to go and start right here. And add our yarn on. Chain 1, and I'm going back in, and that first join is going to be a single crochet. Now everything else is going to just be a slip stitch. If you need to pin your work, you can, but with this big fluffy yarn, I don't want to pin because I don't want to lose pins in there. It's so fluffy. Once you lay it down to where everything is flat and even and matches, it'll stay like that. So you just want to slip stitch all the way down. So you get to your corner, work your corner under your arm in detail. So it doesn't look like you're just going around. You want it to look like that. Even if you have to go from here to here, cut off and then begin here. But you should be able to keep it on and keep going. So when I get there, we'll look at that so you can see how I go down. Okay, now coming back in, you see that we are coming up to our corner right here, right up under our arm. So I'm going to work until I get there. And move these out the way. So I'm right here at my corner where the arm ends, and then we go down to the body. So what I like to do, and if I'm slip stitching or if I am doing single crochet, I want to make sure my join areas are lined up, and I want to carefully go around this area, kind of turning myself as I go. Alright, so I'm right here. Now I want to get here, so I want to come here and make sure I get that exact corner, and then start going down. I hope that you can see that good, but again, you just want to go right to where your join area right here meets for your arms, really good, and then make sure you hit right on the other side. That's going to give you the definition that you're looking for, so you can, it doesn't look like you're just curving around, but you're hitting your angle. Okay, so now I'm just going to keep slip stitching till I get here. I am still debating if I'm going to leave this open or not right here. So I'm going to go here and work all the way down. Once I get here, if I'm going to go here, I'm going to change colors. So when I finish with the body of the work, we're going to cut off our yarn right here once we finish with that. And if we want to continue on whatever color we have here, that's what we want to pick up and continue with. So we're going to do both sides, and then our piece will be fully put together, and we'll work on the collar and be done. Okay, so I have finished my whole piece, putting it together. Let's look at our joins. See our join area. And I have turned it on the right side, but backwards. Okay, so this is the back of the sweater, and now the only thing we have to do is go around and put a border around the neck. Now I'm choosing to put the same border that we put on everything else around the neck. I'm going to go down to a 6 millimeter hook in order to do it, because I want to make it a little bit smaller. I don't want it to be as wide or as thick as the borders that we already have established for our arms and the front and the back piece. So we're going to start in the back, and of course we know the back because the back goes all the way up. So we're going to start in the back of our piece. I'm going to bring in my white. We're going to do 2 strands again, and we'll start our border. Okay, so starting in the back of our work, now as you see I've switched to a 6 millimeter hook because I'm just working with my 2 strands. It'll be fine. I want to add my yarn on to the back. And we're going to be doing the same ridge border. We're just going to be kind of doing it freelance and then connecting it back here. So if you don't know that technique, I'm about to learn how to do that. But it's very simple. Okay, so once we have our yarn on, we're going to chain up 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Oh wait, did one of my strands get away from me? 4. So we're going to skip the first one, and into the second one we're going to make a single crochet and single crochet into the next one and single crochet into the final one. Do not get confused by the chain that we put here when we begin putting our yarn on. And now we're going to slip stitch. We're going to slip stitch right where we made this chain from. Okay, so we're going to go in there, grab our yarn and slip stitch there, and then we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. Go in there, grab my yarn and pull through. Right, and now we want to turn our work slightly so we can work back down this piece. We have slip stitched twice. We will never work in the slip stitches. Okay, so now we have to look at our border, and we're just going to go in the first stitch and the back loop only. Just like we would for our arms and make our single crochet and our bottom borders. It's the same thing. Okay, and we're going to go in our back loop only for our second stitch, and for our third we're going to go through both loops. Do this a few more times again. We want to chain 1 at the end of our row, and we're going to work back down to the sweater or shirt. So we want to go into the first stitch, back loop only, and make a single crochet. Then we want to place another single crochet into the next one, back loop only, and into the third one, back loop only, single crochet. Right. Now we have to put our slip stitches. We want to slip stitch in the same stitch that we are working in. Okay, see it right here? We've already slip stitched in there to begin, and we want to slip stitch in there to end. Right. So now we want to move on to the very next stitch, and we want to slip stitch in there to begin. And now we're going to go back up our border, and when we come back down, know that this is the same place that we're slip stitching in to begin. Okay, So I'm going to turn my work a little bit. We will not be going into the slip stitches, so we'll be looking right at our border, and we'll be going in our first stitch back loop only, and make our single crochet. Second stitch back loop only, single crochet, and the third one both loops. Grab our yarn, single crochet, and chain one. Turn it slightly back, and now we want to go in that first stitch back loop only, second one back loop only, and third back loop only. And now we're going to slip stitch where we began, which was right here, right? You see the stitch coming out of there. That's where we begin, and we'll slip stitch there. And now we must move on to our next stitch, and we're going to slip stitch there. And then we're going to work back on our border, skipping our slip stitches, and we're going to work in the first stitch on our border, back loop only, single crochet. The next stitch back loop only, single crochet, and the last one, the third one, both loops, single crochet. We're going to chain one and slightly turn our work so we can work back down to our piece. So I'm going to go in the back loop only, first stitch, second stitch, back loop only, and third. And we want to slip stitch where we begin in that same stitch. You see how that completes that. And then we're going to move on to the next stitch and slip stitch. So we're going to keep doing this. Pull this up. We're going to keep doing this all the way around our whole sweater. When we come to this area, let me turn it around. You see, we're going to continue doing that around our whole top. All right. When we come to this area right here, we're just going to work 1, 2, 3, and 4 into one in each row, okay, because we're working on the sides of stitches here, and we're going to go all the way around, and that is that. So I'll continue around, and I'll meet you back here and show you how to join. Okay, so I've made it all the way back around, and I am at my last stitch on my border. So now I want to slip stitch where I began that row. Grab my yarn and slip stitch here. And my last slip stitch is going to be where we originally started from. Okay, so I'm going to slip stitch there. I'm going to chain one, and I want to turn my work around so I can work on the inside and closing this up. Okay, if you want to cut off, you can, but I don't see a need. And you can just flip it right around after chaining one and fold it close, just like that, and go ahead and close up this whole back border, back of the neck border, with a single crochet or a slip stitch. Okay, I'm just going to do slip stitch since we've been slip stitching. the third one, go in there, and the third one on this side. Grab our yarn, pull through, and that is it. Okay, pull that up. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this back over. Once we've joined that area, I'm gonna chain one. It's just gonna bring me up on this level. Now I know this is white, but I don't want it to be hard for you to see. You see we have ridges right here, okay? We've made ridges the same way we've made ridges all the way down our borders, right? Same thing here. If we're here, I'm going to just go here, okay, and slip stitch. All right, now skipping over, we're finding our ridge right where the two rows meet and they make that bump, that little ridge. So I'm at a ridge right here. Right before the ridge, I'm going to go in and slip stitch. Here's another ridge right here. Okay, and right before that ridge, I'm going to go in and slip stitch. And another ridge right here. And we're going to go in there and slip stitch. So it's the exact same thing that we've been doing all the way around our borders when we're done them. Instead of doing single crochets, we're going into that row and we're going to slip stitch. Okay, but we're not going into every row, we're going into every ridge. Slip stitch, ridge, slip stitch, ridge, slip stitch. Okay, let me turn this over. I've done this one, so here's another one, rib, slip stitch, and we're going to do that all the way around. You do not want to pull your slip stitches tight, you just want to let it happen. Okay, I just want to let it happen. So slip stitch, because mind you, we're going from here to here, slip stitching. So you don't want to pull tight, you want to loosely just let it happen. From here to here, I would just want to go right before that ridge, grab my yarn, and let it lay. I'm not pulling these tight at all. I'm just letting them lay naturally, okay? They should just give your work a slight draw in. It should not be a tug and pull. See, I'm right here. Just gonna slip stitch. Let it lay nice. Lay nice. So I've done this all the way back to where I began, and I'm going to go under that first slip stitch, and grab my yarn and cut off, and we're just going to pull this through. And that is it, and that is how the collar looks once we have done that to it. Just remember to stay loose. It gives it this nice little foldy bend at the top. It's so pretty. I want you to really see that when you do that. It gives it a nice little top. I love it. Just remember, you do not have to do it tight. Stay loose, let it stay natural, and let it, don't pull tight, okay? All right, and that is our collar. That is everything. now I'm going to go ahead and throw this on my model again and show you guys how it looks one last time. And I am still deciding. I have yet to close off the edges. I've left them open because I still don't know if I want them open or closed, but of course it's optional. Weave in all your ends with your yarn needle, and this is a done project, guys. So I'll see you